economic activity which you would potentially benefit from or other people in the private sector. Is that right? Sure. Okay, good. Yeah, okay. Now, you're also businessmen, so do you think it's a good policy to allow companies to essentially sit on valuable assets that are owned by the public, but they're now going to be able to, they've got a permit to drill, for $1.50 per acre per year? Now, I'm from the West, and in the West, we have to get permits just to go into our forests these days because of cutbacks. I got to pay $30 a year to drive my car in the forest. But if you're an oil or gas producer, you can lease 20 acres of land a year for $30. And
I don't think that's happening anymore.
well,
It's
they're
not
actually
happening, at least the neighbors that I have that have been offered up as much as $2,500 to $3,000 an acre with no.
no. This is
sit on it.
this is federal policy.
Well,
These are onshore rental.
go back to
rates.
federal versus the private then.
Yeah, but what I'm asking you, do you think it's a good business activity for the federal government to allow people to go forward, lease a parcel which has assets under it for $1.50 a year? I mean, don't you think maybe we should run the government a little more
Could
like
you
a
define
business?
your lease application? Because I think you're defining lease as far as using it for recreation and driving over. We define a lease as to use to harvest the resources.
Right. These are oil and gas leases, $1.50 an acre a year.
It is if I might, these leases are given on a competitive bid. I mentioned 6,000 acres.
Yeah, but you bid, you bid for the right. But then once you get the right, there are 7,000 approved permits, been through every federal review on federal lands, onshore, that are sitting undeveloped, and the net cost to those people to hold that per year, those 7,000 permits, is $1.50 per year. So once they've bid for it, and if they're speculating the price is going to go up or down, or they can go somewhere else, they have no incentive to go ahead and develop. They're only paying $1.50 a year. They've already.
I would think it was a big good deal on the guy that gave you the $1.50.
Yeah,
It was what he wanted to do. He's going to sit on it till he can use it again.
The math doesn't work
Correct?
out on
Is that
it.
what you're saying that they're doing?
What
I'm not-
well,
I'm
I
not
mean,
a
what I'm
federal
saying is that,
leasing agent,
like,
so-
for instance, I was here
I just
when
know what we have in
I was
our
here when we
market.
leased the Naval Petroleum Reserve under the Clinton administration. It has yet to produce any oil, but we substantially leased it, and that oil underneath there is today worth 4 times what it was in the Clinton administration. So if we're talking about oil assets, I mean, gas at the moment's a different thing, but ultimately that'll change too. But if you're talking about an oil asset that is getting more valuable every year, you can sit on it for $1.50 an acre. I mean, shouldn't we have some incentive for them to develop, which would mean more drilling, which means more jobs, which means more business for you? I mean, you're businessmen. If you controlled that property, if that was your private property, would you think that was a good deal?
One thing that you're not considering is also the percentage of revenue, the royalty percentage on a go-forward basis when and if they do drill. I mean,
That's correct, but if they're not drilling now, and they're not drilling, I mean, we're now, how many years since Clinton leased Anwar? It's, geez, I don't know, I mean, 15 years? So they've been sitting on that oil. It's gone up 4 times in value. Nothing's come out of there. I mean,
Mr. DeFazio?
Yep, Mr. Weiss, yes.
Mr. DeFazio, I believe that you're trying to get at, for example, BLM, Bureau of Land Management reports that, quote, during the past 4 years, the oil and gas industry has received more federal oil permits in Wyoming than it has drilled. In other words, the difference is over 4,000. So what you're saying is this is evidence that companies are getting leases, they add the value of the oil or gas to their bottom line because it's an asset they control, but they're not developing it. And that's, for example, what BLM reports is happening in Wyoming.
Well, yeah, that is the point I'm making, because, I mean, the idea is here we want more jobs and more drilling, but one place we could be encouraging more drilling is on federal land that's already permitted through all environmental reviews, but there's very little incentive because it's a negligible cost to hold it. That was the point.
Is it a bidding process to pay the $1.50? If it is,
It's
then
no, this is a statute. We haven't, these laws haven't been substantially reformed for many years. I mean, this is sort of, this
I
isn't
would-
it isn't as archaic as the mining law where you can, actually purchase the land for a similar price with the asset under it. But in terms of the oil and gas, yeah, I think maybe this needs a little review. You might agree there in terms of once someone leases something or gets a permit for something, to have some incentive to go ahead and actually produce.
And as a business person, I would suggest that you change the bidding process to the leaseholder to say, I will go out to bid for this as long as you develop it within the next 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
Thank you, Mr.
Mr.
Chair.
Markey had legislation like that, I believe, in the last Congress.
Okay, we're going to go on to the next